It Follows and The Witch are two of the best horror films I've seen in quite some time. Granted, I don't typically follow the genre as it's rife with poor acting and crappy jump scares. These two managed to buck the trend though, offering up some legitimate social commentary and much more. If I had to pick a winner today, I'd go It Follows. Thanks for watching.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Not to interrupt this amazing video or anything, but The Witch is the clear winner.
That's right, I almost forgot I had a contest a while back where a viewer could guess Feud on my channel. This is one of the winners, Jordy, and he's defending The Witch. Let's get started on Movie Feuds. No one's gonna deny that the cast of The Witch did a damn fine job, and the dialogue seems very appropriate for the time period. As far as I know, I have very little knowledge of the history of anything. It Follows gave me a very cool nostalgic vibe though, and the cast helps sell that. Maya Monroe is the main protagonist here, playing a very likable lead named Jay Height. She's not a dumb character, which is very high praise for a horror film. She spends the majority of the flick with her ragtag group of friends and family. There is a love triangle at play too, between an old flame and a close family friend. That may come off as a cliche, but it plays into the story and it's handled very well. It's mainly a teens being teens affair, and the thing I really like is the lack of parents. They can be seen here and there, but mostly as background elements. The Witch has very somber characters doing very somber things in a very somber setting. It can make for an interesting one-time watch, but upon repeat viewings, that could be pretty tough.
Yeah, life in 1600s New England was a lot of fun. Harsh winters, wild animals, having 5 kids, just praying that one will survive. Yeah, lots to be happy about. In addition to the lines and character development, the actors were essentially in charge of learning a new language. Every actor in this movie is believable. Hell, even the baby gives a good performance in this. It's not as good as Mopey Teen's sister, who's a little sassy, Mopey Teen's Mopey friend, and Captain Friendzone.
Question, what's scarier? An entity that presumably can't be killed, who's slowly stalking you until it rapes you to death, or a goat?
Oh shit, the goat! Even the goat gives a good performance in this movie.
Granted, goats can be dicks, yes, but they're goats. The Witch is rarely physically present, more of a looming threat causing internal struggles from a distance. It Follows is similar in that respect. The entity is always lingering, and more disturbing is the fact that only those who have been exposed to it can see its existence. Much like the rash in my...
Listen, I don't want anyone to think that I hate It Follows. I love the simplicity of both stories, actually. Contrary to what the name might imply, The Witch is not about a witch. It's about the prey of the witch. It's about a family that lost their home, their child, and their hope. If you look at it, those are primal fears, and they're still relevant today. Throw in the supernatural factor of witchcraft and the paranoia that a family member or possibly you could be the one causing the pain. It's absolutely horrifying. The Church of Satan actually gave their seal of approval to this film, so that means a lot, especially when you consider the last time they gave their seal of approval to a film was Little Nicky.
Jesus, Little Nicky is frighteningly bad. But let's cut the foreplay and get right down to brass tacks. This film is about contracting a ghost STD. The only way to get rid of this awful spirit is to pass it to a new partner. Here's the rub though. That shit comes back with a vengeance. So the only way to really get rid of it is to pass it on. Get busy banging or get busy dying. It Follows is brilliant because you can find a lot of layers in this film if you look. It can be as simple stupid or as deep and thought-provoking as the viewer likes. Writer-director David Robert Mitchell did this intentionally. He gave the audience just enough to chew on without going overboard with exposition and detail. There is a threat, it won't stop. There's a way to avoid it, but it will eventually come back. There are rules and consequences in this world. And most importantly, the more you dissect it and unearth the mysteries, the more disturbing and uneasy it gets. I didn't really know how to finish that sentence, so I just kind of had Tourette's.
All right, let's move on to round 3.
Please don't ever try to move rounds until I say so. This is my show, my rules. But yes, we are going to move on though now to round 3.
I know it's a little unorthodox, but I count the setting and the way the film is shot to be an effect. When describing this film, I always tell people that it's like witnessing something that you shouldn't be watching. The set of this film is perfect, and it makes sense when you realize that the director, Robert Eggers, started off as a production designer. The natural sounds of this film are scary. The fact that you're all alone in the woods, no life within miles except for maybe a witch, I mean, it's pretty horrifying. Now, that's not to say that this film doesn't have a good soundtrack. There are some key points in the film where the soundtrack picks up, but it doesn't seem forced. But who are we kidding? The It Follows soundtrack is just badass.
You could call me a Charms blow pop because I'm a sucker for a good setting. I appreciate nice visuals and environments. It Follows is less matter-of-fact about its time period than The Witch. There's a lot of 70s and 80s nods. The clothing, the buildings, and the cars have a great vintage feel, but then there are some fun future meshing things like the 60s Shell Compact / e-reader hybrid. There is minimal gore and violent moments, so when they do happen, it's very abrupt and jarring, in a good way. There's a lot of respect being paid to older films like Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street. Classic tracking shots of simple things like following the girls as they have a conversation in their neighborhood. Since the creature of sorts has no real form that we see, the director can have a lot of fun using any type of character that may evoke a disturbing reaction. Last thing is the score, which drives this whole thing forward. I recently got done watching Stranger Things, which had a very similar vibe and feel, so it was great getting back to those 80s / early 90s roots. The sound tips its hat to John Carpenter pictures. The heavy synths help support what was already a very sturdy framework, and when the final moments close, you are left with a very eerie calm. It's perfect.
All right, so let's conclude.
Stop it! Like I said at the beginning, this is not a genre I typically follow. But I made an exception and watched these two, and I was absolutely floored. I think Follows and The Witch are champagne works. I heard a British guy say that once, so now it's part of my dialogue, so I sound more sophisticated. Follows, I'm sure, will get a follow-up film and perhaps eventually spiral into a series of shit, as most inevitably do. But for now, I take joy in this first tale and encourage even those that scoff at the genre to give both films a chance.
You know, I actually agree. It's hard to find a clear-cut winner in this. Both films are effective for what they are, and in 20 years, It Follows will still be considered scary, and The Witch will still be adored by the grown-up hipster baby of two hipster parents, and... Okay. It Follows wins. It's the winner. Speaking of winners, you need to subscribe to the Jordy Baby channel. You will be thoroughly disappointed.
Thanks for joining me, Jordy, and for promoting your own channel. We all really enjoyed that. Let's hear from you now, viewer. Comment below the video, tell me what you thought about these two flicks, vote for your winner, and remember, this is more than just reviews, this is Movie Feuds. Idea for It Follows 2. Screw STD ghosts, let's just talk about childbirth and raising kids. Those are the real consequences of having sex. Oh, and my son just got done taking a shit. I have to go wipe his ass now. I love my life!